This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you, to the glory of God, and to the benefit of all those who listen. All right, well, today we're going to take a look at a pretty simple app, I think, but yet it's very powerful, and it's the Contacts app. And we can do all sorts of things from our Contacts app. This is fully integrated with iCloud. So again, we can create contacts on our phone, on our Macintosh, whatever the device is, and they're going to sync across to all of our devices. I will go ahead and open the Contacts app. You're not going to find that on the dock, but you will find it in the Applications folder. So you could do
Applications,
Command-Shift-A. And that is as long as you are on the desktop or anywhere in the Finder, you can do Command-Shift-A. If you're in Safari or something, that's not going to work. So let's do that one more time.
Macintosh H.
I'm on the desktop, and there's a number of ways we can get to it, but I'll just do that one. Command-Shift-A. Okay. Now,
Icon View Collection.
I'm in Icon View, and I don't really even need to worry, but I can interact, and I can see my apps.
Affinity Design. Affinity Apple Config Classroom.
Okay. And if I want to find contacts quickly, I can type the first few letters of it. We'll type CON.
Contacts. Application.
And I'll VO space on it.
Contacts. Contacts search window. Search text field. Blank. Has keyboard focus.
Immediately, it puts me into a search field that I can start typing. So if I know right away that I want to contact Trainer Cliff, I can start typing Cliff's name.
Cliff Antonio Miller Sr.
And it already popped up.
Contact list table.
If I move to the right with the VO right arrow, I find the contact list, and it's going to have the results based upon the letters that I searched for. So I notice
Contact list table, row 3 of 8.
it's
Cliff
a table.
Antonio Miller Sr. Selected. You are currently on a table. To enter this table, press Control Option
And that's
Shift
what I wanted
down
you to
arrow.
hear. You want to remember that it's a table, so if you want to use it, you have to interact with it.
In contact list table,
Now we can VO left and right.
Shari Mayan Miller, Jeannie Klein, Cliff Antonio Miller Sr.
All right, so it picked one for me. And at this point in time, it's selected. I can VOJ,
Clay, insertion at beginning of contact list Clay,
and it
content
takes me back to the search field. So if we keep doing
in contact list table, Clay, insertion.
it's only going to take us between those two things this time. But once we have the name selected in the table,
Contact list table, row 3 of 8. Cliff Antonio Miller Sr.
we can stop interacting,
Out of contact list table,
and we can move over to the right.
vertical splitter. Cliff Antonio Miller Sr. Cliff Antonio Miller Sr.
And what we have here is the
Cliff Antonio Miller Sr. Profile picture button. The
It's
selected
photo.
card is in all iCloud.
Okay, and it also tells me where it's located.
Press to edit the profile picture. You are currently on a button.
And I
will
want to
pause
touch
that
on
there,
that while
but-
you're right there, because we get a lot of students and clients that say, why isn't my contact syncing? Why are they on my phone and not on my iPad or on my Mac and not on my, iPhone? And right there, it just said that contact card is in all iCloud. That's where you want them at. But if you have your Gmail selected or your Yahoo selected or your Microsoft Outlook selected on your Mac, and you don't have those accounts selected on your phone or your iPad, you're not going to see the same contacts. So it's a good idea to use all iCloud if possible. Contacts, calendars, notes, reminders, photos is automatically going to sync no matter what account you're using. But if you're using iCloud only, that will cut down on all the confusion, so you don't have to worry about, is my Gmail selected on my phone and my Mac. Use contacts in all iCloud, and it'll make life a whole lot easier for everybody.
And I agree with him 100%. What he's talking about, of course, is that every kind of account, or most every account, your Microsoft Outlook, your Gmail, I guess even Yahoo. I don't know who uses Yahoo nowadays, but it, used to be a bigger thing. But all of these accounts, they do more than just email. Let's put it that way, right? So we think of our Outlook account as our email. We think of our Gmail account as our email, but really they can handle contacts, calendars, notes, all these other things. And what Cliff is saying, and I agree, is when you add these accounts, you can choose to not use, or you can go in later to your settings and you can disable all those other things other than mail, like contacts, calendar. So what I recommend and what he recommends is use iCloud for everything. Leave everything enabled on iCloud that possibly can be. And if you find there's some stuff that isn't, actually go ahead and enable it too, because it's probably going to help you out. But then on all the other accounts that you may add to your device, disable everything except mail. Disable your calendars for Google, disable your contacts for Google, disable your contacts for Outlook. Now, the exception to this, I understand some people have to, right? Maybe their workplace says you must use Outlook. My wife teaches at a school district where they use Google. She has to use Google Calendars in order to be able to have access to the obligations for the staff and all of these things. But if it's a choice, I would really recommend disabling all those other things, because it's exactly what Trainer Cliff said. You get people who have enabled it on one device but not another, or they don't know which account it's going into. So without knowing it, they've added something to their Outlook account, and then they pick up their iPhone, which doesn't have Outlook on it, not the Outlook app, but the Outlook account in settings. And now all of a sudden they say, well, I don't see my events. My calendar's not working. Well, it probably is. It's probably just that you didn't add it to the correct calendar under the correct account. So when you listen, again, we went into the table and we picked a contact based on our search results. And then we stopped interacting with that table and we moved to the right with VO right arrow. We heard
Cliff Antonio Miller Sr. Profile picture button. The selected card is in all iCloud. Press to edit the profile picture.
And it also tells us to press to edit the profile picture. But importantly, it told us what account it's in. It's in all iCloud, and that's exactly where we want it. So now we are going to continue moving to the right.
Cliff Antonio Miller Sr. The selected card is in all iCloud.
We're going to start to see
Cliff nickname message button.
Some options here. We can message him right here with VO space. That'll open up the Messages app, not to be confused with email messages, but rather the Apple Messages app.
The call button.
We can give him a call. And I do believe, Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that just like on the iPhone or iPad, if you VO space on that call button, it's going to give you the choices of whether I want to call your iPhone, your work, your home, whatever you have in there. It's not just going to make a call arbitrarily. It's going to let you choose, right?
Not only that, it's actually going to ask you if you want to do FaceTime video, audio, or actually make a cell call.
Right. So that's another thing. You'll have those options too. So we can message, we can call.
Video button.
And there's a video button right there. We can start an immediate FaceTime call.
Mail button.
And we can send him an email. Now, obviously, what's going to be here is going to depend on what you have for your contact card. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But
contact info table. Nope.
Now, here's the table, which I can actually go through his contact info, and I can see what his phone number is. I can see what his address is. I can see when his birthday is, if he's chosen to put that in his contact card. I can see all of those things. Now, we won't use that one because there might be some personal info in there, but we'll find something else. But if you interact with that table, all of that information is going to be there. So let's now go back to the left here.
Call button. Cliff Antonio verticals contact list table. Content.
And I'm going to delete that. Now notice it said content selected.
Contents selected. Search text field.
So I could type over it or I could just delete.
Text deleted.
Okay. Now if I go even further to the left, because we haven't looked at everything here yet. I have my accounts and stuff like that if I have any, but I'm going to come back to that. Let's go to the right again now and see what this looks like when we don't have anything in the search field.
Contact list table. Row 275 of 492.
Okay, so you can see I can interact with that. There's a lot of contacts in here.
In contact list, Shari Maya, Jeff Milley, Microsoft, K-Mer, Alvin Mac, Noah Mex.
We can move up with VO up arrow, down with VO down arrow.
Monica Mex.
We
Noah
can
Mex.
also,
Monica Mex.
it's going to be the same thing. You can go left, right, up, or down. It doesn't matter. Cliff, is there a quick way to jump to the beginning or end of this table, or any other shortcuts we should know about while we're in this list of contacts?
I have a commander made for it, but I think if you're on the actual Apple Magic keyboard, you can hold down the function key, which is the globe key, whatever you want to call it, and the VO keys, and hit the left arrow to go to the beginning and the right arrow to go to the beginning. And I think that's a universal command. You can do that anywhere pretty much, like
The selected card.
some system settings, and anywhere that you're in a table, you can do that. And I usually do it in system preferences too. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is in
system
all
settings.
iCloud. My card section header.
Well, and I think it
Matthew Volbrecht.
I think it
Matthew
works.
AA
Yes,
section.
it did work. So if I press, let's review that again. The very far left key, which they call the globe key, it also acts as the function key, just depending, but it's the key that brings up your emojis and so on. So it's got a little symbol of a globe on it. If you hold down that along with your VO keys, control and option, you can press the function control option left arrow to go to the very top, the very beginning of your contact list, as I just did, or globe control option right.
465 cards.
And
No,
it brought us-
492 of 492. No name.
It brought us down to
The
the very
select
bottom.
number section. Zoom.
How
And
many?
I have a Zoom contact.
How many of those have you paid to be your friends? 465 people.
Just one less than you had to. No. So that's how you can quickly move from top to bottom. And again, you can search with the search field. So let's pick somebody here.
Apple accessibility.
Another way I can do it is I can, even in the table, I can type the first few letters of the word that I am looking for. I might be wanting to call Best Buy, or a little pizza place we got near us called Best Ways, but you definitely can do first few letters. So I just did that with best. Let's do that again. Let's say I want to find, what's another business that I have in here? How about the business where we used to have the NFB conventions? They're the Delta Hotel.
Delta Airlines.
No, there's Delta
Completion.
Airlines. I just typed DEL.
Delta Dental.
And I've got other ones. You see the idea, right? It's at a different hotel now. But anyway.
And normally I
so
wouldn't say
let's-
this, but I want to make sure we make this clear, because we have somebody that's coming over from Windows, and anybody else who may listen to this recording later on. In Windows, you can just keep pushing the first letter of what you're doing, of the letter of the item you're looking for, and it'll keep on going down. In Mac OS,
Right.
it does not work that way. You have to type
No.
the first couple of letters to get to where you're trying to go, because if you just keep pushing the letter D or the letter F, it's going to continually stay on the first item of that letter. So if you type, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 letters to get better results, then you'll get to where you're trying to go. So I'm just trying to point out some differences, because we got a lot of people that come over from the Windows platform and expect the behavior to be
Exactly.
the same. So
That's right. I'm glad you pointed that out. It's been so long since I've used Windows that I didn't even think about it, really. I just, other than I pressed, but I did. I typed DEL. So let's do.
Delta Airlines.
Let's just do Delta Airlines here. I don't have a lot of info on them, but I can at least show you. Again, we'll stop interacting.
Out of contact list table.
And we'll go to the right with VO right arrow.
Vertical splitter. Delta Airlines. Profile picture. But Delta Airlines. Message button. Main. Video.
Okay.
Main. Call button. The
Now, you
select
notice that one specifically said main call, probably because that's the only phone number I have for them is a main number.
card is an all iCloud video. Dimmed button.
And you notice video is grayed out. I can't actually do a FaceTime call with Delta Airlines because I don't have a FaceTime contact for them. And if we go to the right,
Mail. Dimmed button.
I can't email them either for obvious reasons. But I do have
Contact info table.
their contact info table. And let's just keep going to the right and see if there's anything
This
else.
add menu button.
Okay, so there's an add button. We'll come back to that.
Edit button.
And there's an edit button.
The share card button.
And there's a share card.
Share card button.
And that's it. So we'll talk about those in just a moment. Let's go back to the contact info table. If I want to actually look it up and I want to say, well, what is the phone number for Delta? I also could ask our friend SIRI because I have that in my contacts. And even if you don't, you can ask about business information and call businesses and get directions and so on. But I'm just going to go back to the table.
Contact info table.
And interact with it.
In contact info table, main phone pop-up button, 800-221-1212 pop-up button. The selected card is in all iCloud. FaceTime.
Again, can't do that.
Homepage URL pop-up button, https://www.delta.com toggle button.
And so
Note cell. Note.
If I had a note in there, I could put it. Now those pop-up buttons.
Main phone pop-up menu, 3 items. Call. Show in large type. Send message.
And of course, we don't have the ability to actually...
Closing menu.
I just pushed escape there. We don't have the ability to actually send them a message. But if you VO space on those pop-up buttons, it's going to give you the option of giving them a call or sending them a message or visiting a URL. So that's all I have for this contact is a phone number and a web address because it's a company. It's Delta Airlines. I don't have an email of a contact person. I don't have multiple phone numbers. If we picked a name, I'll go ahead and use my own business because I have probably a few more things in there. So let's go
mail.
Back
video,
to the
main, Delta Airlines vertical split contact list in contact
the table here. We could type TTJ.
TTJ Tech Services. Completion selected.
Stop interacting and
TTJ message button, call button, video button, mail button, contact info table.
All those are available here. So now I can look here.
In contact main phone pop-up button, 814-348-1366 pop-up button. FaceTime. The selected card is in all iCloud. Work email pop-up button, info@ttjtech.biz pop-up button. iCloud email pop-up button, the tech juggernaut at iCloud.com. Technical support email pop-up button, support@ttjtech.biz pop-up button. Store email pop-up button, shop@ttjtech.biz pop-up button. Homepage URL pop-up button, https://www.ttjtech.biz toggle button. YouTube URL pop-up button, Apple Podcast URL pop-up button.
So you see I've got an Apple Podcast URL, YouTube URL. So all of these things can be put in your contact cards. And I'm going to show you where you go to add one in a moment. But I also want to stop interacting with this table for a moment. And I want to go to the right. And I want to show you there were 3 buttons here.
Add menu button.
Add, that's where we're going to add, and I'll show you that in a moment. Next up, it's
edit button.
Edit. So if I want to edit an existing contact, I would select that contact as we've already done, and I'd go over here and I'd choose edit. And that's going to allow me to edit the contact details.
And you can also
then
use
share
Command
card.
L.
Oh, Command L will open the edit
contact. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. And then the last one,
share card button. The selected card is a
card. And so if you want to send that contact card to somebody, if you want to send your own contact card to somebody, you can select it and you can choose share card. And let's just see what the options are.
The selected 15 items image. TTJ Tech Services. Contact card. Diane Harms, Cliff, Viola, airdrop
All
messages.
These people that I've been communicating with are what they call sharing suggestions. And then I have
mail button, Viola, airdrop button,
airdrop,
mail messages, notes button, freeform simulator button, shortcuts button, edit extensions button, edit extensions.
All these different apps that I can share with. Not as many as you have on the iPhone or the iPad because I don't have that same number of apps. It's going to depend on what you have. Now, Trader Cliff, when you hit share contact on an iPhone or an iPad, you have the option of choosing in real time which fields you want to share. So basically, you can share this card right here, and we're going to hit escape because we don't actually want to do that.
Share card button, group.
Okay. Now, I'd like to show you what it's like to add a new card before we go any further. And that was our add button, just 2 to the left here, VO left.
Edit button.
VO
add
left.
Menu button. The selected card is in all menu, 10 items. New contact. New list. Add field to card. Dim phone. Email. pronouns, birthday, address, profile. More fields, submenu. More fields.
So you can add fields to your contact cards, but I'm just going to go back clear up to the top here.
Add new contact.
And we're going to say new contact. We also saw new list, and I'll talk about what that means in a few minutes. But we're trying to keep it simple right now. So here's a new contact, a VO space.
No name. Completion selected. The selected card is in all iCloud.
Now,
Profile picture button. Vertical splitter. Contact list table. Profile picture button.
it's important to understand what's happening here now. When you say new contact, essentially what it's done is it's added a contact to the list called no name. That's a little bit different than on your iPhone and your iPad, but you have the ability to edit everything. So just keep staying to the right here. Don't go past that vertical splitter.
First, edit text.
And now here, oh, actually do go one to the left.
Profile picture button.
Maybe you have a picture you want to add in there. Now here's our first name.
First, edit text. The selected
just,
card is in all N.
We'll just type John
Last, edit text.
Smith.
H.
The name everybody
Smith.
Defaults to, right?
Company, edit text.
What company does John Smith work for? Well, we don't even really have to put a company if we don't want to. But if we do, we can put a company, or we can leave first and last name blank and just put a company. So we have our options here.
Company, unchecked, checkbox.
Okay, it's unchecked.
Contact info, table, no selection.
Now look what has happened.
Add menu button.
Now let me touch on this business thing here, because I actually have my contact card and I have, who I work for, but I don't have it checked as a business. So I think if you do have it checked as a business, that it might sort it or appear to you a different way once the contact is saved. But that option
I think you might be right.
But remember, on the iPhone and iPad, that checkbox is not actually there. So you just put something in the business field and it automatically does that and whatever. But the Mac gives you that option to select that label to give you a different appearance.
Exactly. Now, notice what we've run across after the company options is this table.
This add menu button.
I went past it, and now I'm on add again. So I don't want to do that. I want to go back to the left.
Contact info, table, no selection. The selected card is...
We have to actually interact with this table to begin filling out the contact card here.
In contact info, table, row 1 of 19. Mobile phone, mobile pop-up button.
And let's say I didn't want that to be called mobile. I want something else. So
the selected card is in all iCloud. Home email, mobile phone, mobile pop-up button. Actions
all right,
menu.
You don't use the Mac every day, so I'll help you
Action
out.
1 mobile pop-up button.
When it actually says the field, you actually have to interact there again. So when it says mobile phone and then it says email and home, you actually have to interact there to get. We have to interact
another time,
confirm
right?
Mobile,
so that's what
mobile phone.
You got to go deeper into that. You have to go deeper into that hotel.
And thank you, Trainer Cliff, for sharing that. You have to interact another time.
In mobile phone, mobile pop-up button, cell to mobile phone, edit text.
And what it gives you is two things. It gives you the pop-up button and the edit field. So that's wonderful that Trainer Cliff pointed that out, because the first thing when you interact with it is
mobile pop-up button.
The pop-up button. If I don't want that,
select menu 12
VO space on it, and let's say
iPhone.
We'll choose iPhone.
The selected card is in all iCloud.
Now what we have
iPhone pop-up button
is the edit
the
field.
Selected
to the right.
card.
VO right arrow, and there's to the right is the
iPhone phone edit text. The select,
and we can start typing it. And again, we'll use a generic phone number. And
212-555-1212.
There it is, 212-555-1212.
That's all. That's funny, because that's what they always use in the movies.
yeah, that's right. Yep. So that's all that is in.
212.
See, we can't go any further to the right. So again, thank you, Trainer Cliff. We have to stop interacting now.
Out of 212-555-1212 iPhone, remove button, iPhone pop-up button. The select mobile phone, mobile pop-up button.
They've wanted to give us another one in case we want to do that. Then here's
home email, home pop-up button.
Again, any of these you want to edit, you have to interact with it. So home email.
In home email, home pop-up button.
We'll leave it on home.
Home email, edit text.
And there's our edit field.
Remove email button. The selected card is in home pop-up button. test@gmail.com.
All right, we won't really send it. I don't wonder who has test@gmail.com. But we stop interacting.
Out of test@gmail.com.
And again, we can just keep moving through.
Work email. The selected card is in all iCloud. Pronouns. So ringtone. Chirp pop-up button.
We could choose a different ringtone,
Text tone. And
text tone.
homepage URL. Homepage pop-up button.
All of these options that you would expect.
Birthday. Birthday month /a/year. The selected card.
We'll talk about birthdays here shortly too.
Home username. Home pop-up button.
And
Home
that is
username. Home pop-up button. Jabber pop-up button.
okay. So you can choose different. Again, we interact and we can.
In home pop-up button. The selected menu. Work. Other. Custom ellipsis. Custom ellipsis.
Those are Jabber, which
Home username. Edit text. Jabber. Home pop-up button.
you could, so
Jabber. Home pop-up button. Menu. MSN. QQ. Skype. Yahoo. Yahoo.
well, they're talking retro here.
MSN.
MSN, is that
QQ.
even?
I was just about to say,
checkmark.
that's ancient stuff, right? Does people even use that
Google
stuff
Talk.
anymore?
As we go higher up the list, it seems like it's getting more into.
Google Talk. Gadu. Facebook. Facebook.
Well, there's one I recognize. So we'll escape. Now,
Closing.
if you
Out of. Home.
we stop interacting, we still have more.
Street. City.
We have the
State.
address that's here.
ZIP. Country or region. Home pop-up button.
So you're going to want to interact with that if you want to enter their address. We have more things we can enter here, right? And you can always add additional. We have more than one address, a home and a work one.
Note.
You can add a note,
Note.
and that's the last thing.
You are
Now-
currently on a sell 2 items.
If I stop interacting here,
Out of contact info table.
what I have,
Add menu button. Done button.
the done button,
Share card. Share
which
card.
we didn't see before because the done button is where the edit button used to be. So when I'm finished entering this
The
contact,
done button.
I hit the done button with VO space.
The John Smith. Complete.
Now, if I go into
Add menu but edit but add mail button. Video. iPhone. Call button. Message button. John Smith. John vertical scroll area.
And there he is.
John Smith. Row 1 expanded. Contact cap
Okay.
S. Cap S space cap
So
S.
you see-
Contact list table. Row 3 in contact list table. Jamie Smith. John Smith. Completion
There's
selected.
John.
Smith. Level
And,
1. Row
of
1
course-
expand in alert dialog. Are you
If
sure
I-
you want to delete the card for
Alert.
John Smith?
Are you sure you want to delete the card for John Smith?
if I don't want to keep the card when I'm in the contacts table, I press Command Delete, and it brings up that dialog box. Are you sure you want to delete the card for John Smith?
Delete. Default button.
And I do, because he's not real.
Lacey Smith. Completion.
So that is how easy it is to enter a contact card. You just have to remember to interact multiple times. Now, there's two other things that I'd
Closing
like to.
dialogue. Lacey.
Oops. There we go. There's two other things I'd like to talk about, and maybe Trainer Cliff has some others he'd like to add, or he'll also join in as I talk about these. The first one I want to talk about is lists. We never got to lists yet. We saw the add list option in our contacts app. When we went to the add button, it brought up that menu, and one of the things we could add was a list. A list is a group of contacts, and you can quickly send emails to the entire list if you want. You can do all of these things, and so you can message a whole bunch of people at one time via email. And it's also a great way of keeping them organized just for your own purposes. For example, I have a TTJ list so that when I'm looking for a business contact specifically, I'm not looking through all my personal contacts because I know it's a business contact. I even have a special TTJ list for my my premier protection and gold customers, really. So I have separate lists for these things. You could create all kinds of lists. You could go about this in many different ways. You could have relatives, you could have, family, you could have also, you could really, there's no right or wrong here. But the idea is you go to the add button and choose list, and you can create a new list, and then you're going to be able to add contacts to it. Now, we didn't get to how to create a list yet or how to add contacts to it. So let me.
Lacey Smith. Row
Let me
1
first-
The selected card is in all cap S. Cap S.
while I'm in this list of
This
contacts,
contact list table, row in contact list, Nikki Smith Wilkes.
let me just show you
Menu,
that you can VO Shift M on a contact in the list, and you're going to have some options here.
menu, share, submenu,
Again, a share option like you saw before.
export vcard ellipsis,
Okay, so we can export a V card if we need to actually have a card that
edit
way.
card,
You can edit.
delete card, spotlight, Nikki spotlight,
Okay.
spotlight,
And those are the only options there in that particular.
closing
And I'll just hit escape on that.
Snake Springtown, Nikki Smith,
And so
actions menu, 3,
you also have the actions menu, VO and command space.
show alternate items, delete, jump to SS section header text, jump
Okay,
to delete,
so again,
show
we can
alternate
show
items.
alternate items. And
Snake Spring Township, Nikki Smith Wilkes, Snake Spring Township office, completion, Beth Snow,
see, it's showing me all of these options. So
completion
never-
selected, Beth
never
Snow,
forget-
row 1,
there you go. Never forget to also try your VO Shift M and your VO
Beth Snow,
command
row 1,
space. But where is the option to create a new list? And I'll show you, or rather, where is the option to, we know where the option is to create a new list. Where are the lists that you create? And that is going to be further to the left. We stop interacting.
focus, sleep, on,
We stop interacting with our contacts list here, and we VO left arrow.
search text, vertical split contact list, table, row 1 of 8, all contacts,
And there it is. And just to show you,
full screen button,
that's as far to the left as we really need to go. So this says contact lists.
contact list, table, row 1 of 8,
If I interact with this,
in contact list, table,
and now I VO left and right,
all contacts, iCloud section header, all iCloud, level 1, family, LSGR Brown, completions, George Bassioli, on my Mac,
okay, and then I even have an on my Mac, which I don't
this
use.
Matthew Volbrecht, all on my Mac, level
Okay,
1,
but
George
It's
LSGR
just showing
Brown,
me some of these.
completion selected,
That's my
you are currently on,
that is my TTJ list. It's reading the first contact in there is what it's actually doing, but that's my
LSGR Brown,
TTJ list, and then the next one is my
George,
gold customer list. And so once I find the list that I want, I can stop interacting. I like to keep this on iCloud, on
LSG,
all iCloud,
all iCloud,
because that's going to show me all of my contacts, because I only use iCloud. You didn't hear Gmail in there or anything like that. You just heard the all iCloud, and then the other ones that I have, family, and I have my 2 TTJ lists.
out of contact list,
Now, Cliff, before we talk about the best practices for contacts, should we explore the menu bar in this app as well?
You did not. And it would be a
Right.
good idea
would
to do it, because there's some
To
options
do it, yes.
that you're not going to see at first glance.
Right. So we know that every app has the Apple menu, and we won't mess with that. We're going to VOM here.
Apple, menu, 10,
VO to the right is going to give us the name of the app menu.
contacts, menu, 9 items,
But I think we'll
about contacts, settings ellipsis, command, comma,
pretty common stuff.
accounts ellipsis,
There's some accounts. You can look at that. Remember, we just talked about accounts.
add account ellipsis,
So you can even add an account under here.
services, submenu,
Okay.
add
Let's go to the right and see what the other menus are here.
file, menu, 11 items,
We'll take a quick look through these, and if we see anything that Cliff or I want to give any feedback on, we'll do that.
new card, command N,
That's another way to create a new contact card. You don't have to go to the add menu in the list. You can go to the file menu and choose new card, or you heard it say you can press command N,
new list, command shift N,
and you can make a new list with command shift N.
new list from selection,
Okay, so you can select contacts and make a new list from that selection.
new smart list ellipsis, command option N,
A new smart list based on
I love
different
this feature,
factors.
especially during our training season, because when we get customers or guests or students that email us, I always label them voice over students, and it automatically puts them all in one list. So when time to email them about something, a last minute change or something of that nature, I just come and go to, I don't even have to come in contacts. I can just go to mail, type the first few letters of the name of that list, and it'll automatically put everybody on that list, no matter how many it is in the field that I'm in. I usually do BCC so everybody doesn't see everybody else's address. But yeah, I love that smart list feature.
And that feature is only on the Mac, correct?
Yes, I have not seen that on the phone, but when you make it on the Mac, it automatically does show up on your phone.
Okay. Where do you indicate that they are a voiceover student then? Where do you put that detail in the contact?
So when you would where I put it at is in the business area or whatever it's called right after the last name. I think it is called business. I put it there.
Okay, so it really doesn't matter as long as it has that in the contact card somewhere. It will know
exactly
because
the way you set up a smart list or a list, I think it's called smart list, is you pick the attribute you want, and I pick has or whatever, and once you do that,
contains the words or whatever.
Exactly. Yep. Just like if you're doing an email. So
because you can do those kinds of things in the Notes app, you can do smart lists on the iPhone and iPad. But so that's what that is.
I even like the Notes app because even if you don't make it a smart list note right away, you can actually convert it to a smart list or a smart note.
Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. And so, again, a smart list lets you specify different attributes that will automatically assign then a contact, in this case, to a particular list.
New smart list from current search, dimmed. Close Command W.
Of course, we can close.
Save, dimmed Command S. Import ellipsis Command O.
Import is a nice thing to be aware of because if you have a bunch of contacts in Outlook, for example, but you are trying to move to the Apple world and do everything on the Mac and the iPhone and the iPad and so on, you could import a V card or a list of contacts here, and you'd be able to save them in your contacts app.
Export as PDF ellipsis. Export, submenu.
We have different export options there. We won't go into all
Print
that.
ellipsis Command P.
You can even print out a contact.
Print ellipsis.
Now let's see what else there's.
Edit, menu, 7th view, menu, card, menu.
Card. Let's look at card because this one might be interesting. So this will pertain to the card we have currently selected.
Go to next card command, right bracket. Go to previous card command, left bracket.
Those are good commands to know. Command right bracket takes you to the next card. Command left bracket takes you to the previous.
Merge selected cards. Dimmed Command Shift L.
Okay, so here again, some people say, well, I have, 3 different contacts for so-and-so, and I really want to, merge them together, right? Okay.
Look for duplicate ellipsis.
We can also have this scan for duplicate cards.
Add field, submenu.
Okay, we saw that before. Add field.
You are currently on a menu item. Show last name before first.
And this
mark as a company command \.
There you go. Mark as a company command \. So if we want to sort it by company, and then show
last name before first.
Some people really like that, especially if they grew up with traditional phone books, because that's how they were always sorted, was the last name first. So you have the option here.
Make this my card. Command open in separate window command open in separate.
Okay, that's that. Now let's see.
Window, menu, help, menu.
And then window and help. And those are the only things in the menu bar. We talked about how to create lists. Is there a shortcut to add a contact card to a list when you want to do that on the Mac, Cliff?
There is not that I've always done it the traditional way, which is just copy it, stop interacting, go to the list and paste it there. The way that I've done it is, like I said, just interact with the contacts table, find the contacts you want to copy, and just Command C. And now you can do it one at a time, but in a more advanced way to do it would be VO command and enter on the first contact you want, and then select all the contacts you want in the list. Then make sure you push Command C, because I've done this before. I've had 53 people selected, and I forgot to push Command C and had to start all, or forgot to push Command C and had to start all over.
Had to
Once
start all over.
once you push Command C, then you can stop interacting. Go to your new list and paste them in that table there. You can also delete
And
contacts the same way. Select them that way, and then just hit Command Delete or backspace, and it'll delete them contacts from your contact list.
but is there anything else that we should have covered in the Contacts app?
No, I mean I think that about covers it. The best, one thing I would say be careful of is when you're using that import feature to make sure that you know how to get to that import so you can view them, or that merge duplicates or whatever. I've never done it that way. When I guess I call it the iPhone or Mac caveman days back in 2011, 2012, when I was still using Windows part-time. There was a feature in iTunes where you could actually copy your Outlook contacts to your iPhone. And when I did that, I never had to import and worry about bringing a contact card or whatever now. So whenever I enter a contact now, it's just one or two at a time. But I've never had to use that import feature because of that, because I stopped using Windows back in 2016. So.
Yep, that's right. Boy, that takes you back, doesn't it, to think about having to use iTunes to sync your mail and contacts and so forth. And wow,
we don't even call it
that
iTunes
was an interesting time.
We don't even call it iTunes anymore on the Mac. So
No. All right. So the last thing I'd like to talk about in this session is what I like to call best practices, both for you, for your own contact card, and for other contacts that you enter. I'm going to close this
Finder, application,
just so that we
close with
are back on the desktop. One of the biggest things that we've seen be a potential issue for people, we already talked about one of them, which is having multiple accounts, not realizing you have multiple accounts, not knowing which account was selected, that sort of thing. That's one issue. The other issue is that people don't have their contact cards entered properly. And there is a quote unquote proper. There's no right or wrong, it's personal preference, but there is a recommended way to enter contact information for each person, including yourself. And the reason that it's so important is because it makes it a lot easier later on when you need to find contacts, to email contacts, to message or call contacts. And it also becomes important, especially as somebody who's using not only the Mac, but also the iPhone and the iPad. We have SIRI on all of our Apple devices, but, probably it's going to be more common to use her on the iPhone or the iPad. Well, if I use that person whose name I won't say, and I ask her on my iPhone, let's see if you can hear this. When is my son's birthday? Now,
I actually couldn't
how
hear
did
that.
it know?
But that
Oh,
let me see. I'll try it here. Maybe you can hear mine.
okay.
When is my mom's birthday?
Mary Jo Miller's birthday is 111 days away on August 6th.
But
Yes.
but see what happens when I do this. When is my daughter's birthday?
Which one? Precise Miller, Corinne Miller, or Cliff Rex Miller?
See, it notices that I have more than one daughter, so she asks me which
Exactly.
daughter that I have. But that just goes back to what Trainer Matt's talking about. If you have your
Right.
contact cards filled out properly with the correct labels and identification, then they'll know. But the bottom line is, if you have all that information filled in, not only will
Right.
it identify when you ask SIRI a question, it will also, as we'll talk about in the next session, automatically create birthday calendars, so you don't have to put them on your calendar, correct?
Exactly. And it does a lot more right than it doesn't. I mean, the example that he gave, of course, there was an extreme one, but in general, being able to say call my wife or my daughter, my son, or something like this, take me home. You're out and about somewhere and you want directions home. All I got to say is take me home or take me to work or to, whatever. So how does it know that? And the answer is filling out a proper contact card for yourself and for each person in your contact list. So what does a proper contact card consist of? Because when we used, and I think this is probably especially true for those of us in the visually impaired community who have been on this earth long enough to remember devices like the Braille Mate and the Braille and Speak, where their idea of a contact card was 3 or 4 fields or a note with contact information, because you didn't have websites and all those things then. But we got used to entering things.
I remember people used to make 3 or 4 contacts for one person because they had more than one contact point and they didn't have enough fields to make that contact point.
That's right. They made one like John Smith work and John Smith home, or the other extreme. I used to have contacts that looked like this. Like I'd have one contact that said mom and dad. That's not a good contact card. I don't care. Even if mom and dad live at the same address, have the same home phone, most all of their stuff is the same. That's still not the proper way to do it, and it causes trouble down the road. So the way to do it, a proper contact card is going to consist of a unique first name and a unique last name, or at least a business or company name, right? You can have all three. You can have just a business and no first and last. You can have a first and last and no company, but at least one or the other, okay? Then you're going to have at least one phone number with an appropriate label, right? Don't just leave it on a generic label. Now, we could get into a discussion about whether mobile or iPhone is really necessary, but at least make sure you don't, put just phone or don't call it a home number if it's an iPhone number.
Right.
Pick a label that actually is going to make sense when you need to use it.
I don't use the iPhone label. I always use mobile, so.
Right.
But it's personal preference, and I think you use the iPhone label if they have an iPhone, right?
I do. Yes. Yep. And then, same thing. If you want to enter more information, you can have more than one phone number. You can have addresses, websites, email addresses, designate them with the appropriate label, but you can have as many as you need. And then you can fill out, like he said, we're going to talk next time about calendars, but you can designate their birthday. You can designate the relationship, like son, daughter, mother, father, all those kinds of things. There are tons of fields that you can add. You can add a nickname field, and they're all there. You saw that add fields menu. So you're going to find a lot of fields, and on your iPhone and iPad, those options exist also. And then also when it comes time for your own contact card, make sure that you specify that it is your card. Now, we saw that in the menu when we were looking at the contacts under the card menu. There was an option that said, make this my card. So if you have a card selected, you can choose make this my card. If you're on an iPhone or an iPad, go to settings. And there's actually a couple different ways to do this. You can do it under settings and contacts. You can also do it under settings and then Siri and search. And you can choose my info. And at that point, you can pick your contact card as well, so it knows who you are. These are very, very useful tips, because when you have a properly organized contacts list with proper contact cards all the way through it, it's going to make life a lot easier. So again, one card per person, always one card per person. As soon as my daughter was old enough to even have just an iPad with an iCloud email address, she didn't have a phone or anything else yet. And she was so young that nobody emailed her, but it was, we did family sharing. So she had an Apple ID. As soon as she was old enough, she got a contact in our card. The home number, the home address were the same as the rest of us. And she didn't have an iPhone. When she eventually got it, we added that in there. But she has always, from her very first device, so probably 1 or 2 years old, she has had her own contact card. One card per person in every situation, and make sure that each card has at least either a first and last name or a company name, and at least one other thing, phone number and properly labeled, whatever. You can add more than that, but at least make sure you've got the basics down so that when you need them, they're available.
Well, in our situation, it's a little more different. I mean, before iOS, what are we on, 17?
Right.
Before iOS 17, you didn't have the ability to select or deselect the parts of your contact card that you wanted to send or share with somebody. Now you have that option, But I think that you and I still create a contact card for our businesses. That way, it has just
Well,
our business information in there.
yes.
But that
And
still falls under the line because you said one contact card per person. Because our personal card does not contain the same
right,
information as our business
right,
contact.
right. What I really should have said is at least one contact card per person, but there may be a case where you want a second one, and I'll explain what he's talking about there. So essentially now what they have given you, at least on iPhone and iPad, now we didn't see it on the Mac, but on iPhone and iPad, when you share a contact card, you can deselect the fields you don't want to share. So somebody comes up to you at an expo or a restaurant or a meeting or something, a conference, they say, hey, we really should network. We live in the same city, or I need some training or whatever. I want to get in touch. Give me your card. Well, I don't really need them to have my home address, my birthday, or my kids' names, right? That's not relevant to the discussion. So
I don't
I
know if
can
you notice it though, but when you go to share a card, that information is automatically deselected. You actually
not
have
selected.
to,
Yeah.
right. You
Yeah.
have to actually go down to the very bottom and say select all
Right.
fields.
If you want all of them, that's right. So you can select and deselect what you actually want to share. Now, what I did, and I still think that this is the right decision based on the fact that you and I both run businesses. If we worked for a company, I might feel differently about it, but we both own our own business. So I still think it's the right decision. We created separate contact cards just for the business. I also have my business information in my personal card, but I, like Cliff, have a separate card that's TTJ Tech Services only. And the benefit to that is then it's easy to just share that when I'm, out and about and somebody says, oh, you're the guy that helps with the iPhones and does all this. Let me have your card. I'll just airdrop it to them, that card, the TTJ Tech Service. I don't even have to worry about anything else. Here's the card. And it's already set up with all the proper information. And you notice that I had the ability to custom name fields. So you have these fields like homework, iPhone, mobile, main, which is really good for companies and stuff. Other, they have school, they have Apple Watch, they have pager, they have fax, work fax. They've got tons of them. But you can also create custom ones. So if you noticed when we were looking at my TTJ card, I have one called store or shop email. I think I said store email. I have one that's called technical support email, so that when somebody receives that contact card, they're going to have that information. So they don't have to guess, well, this one's other. I wonder what that means. This one's, business work. I have them labeled
Macintosh
as,
HD volume.
What did I say? Store, technical support, and I think the other one was work email or main email. And then I have an iCloud one as well. So there's a lot of flexibility when entering these cards, and it's worth taking advantage of because the more information you can enter, the better the results will be later. There's that human factor that the technology can't replicate, but we can make the technology smarter by providing this information up front.
Well said. I mean, before Apple stole my idea. Well, they just call it iMessage now, but they have a field now that's called iMessage. Before, I used to have a custom label that said iMessage/email, so I would know that was also their email address as well as the best email to use to iMessage them in the Messages app. So,
right.
So, but other than that, is there anything you have for us today?
I think that ought to do it.
All right. I guess next time we'll touch on calendars, and thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Want a free consultation or some paid one-on-one training? Email us at support@ttjtech.biz or support@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional free resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stiritup.com. I'm Trainer Cliff. Thanks for joining us. God bless. See you next time.